gives a fuck.
He wasn't too cool to care.
He wasn't too cool to care.
Dipset
You
that
can't
they're
be
cool.
too cool, because if you too cool, you gonna freeze to death.
Right.
Niggas be trying to be too cool and
that's
not be
what happens.
silly and always try to be hard. And it's like, bro, you look dumb. And it made me think, man, being cool, having the biggest songs don't matter all the time. It's what is your skill? What is your discernible? What is the skill that you bring? And that stuck with me because it's like, bro, you don't even realize the geeks, the ones that care, that give a fuck, that it's passion, where they do it for free, they're the ones that stick around. I think Jasper is like my closest friend, and man, that nigga's a geek about like anime and like all that shit. And like, while it's not my thing, I love if we drive by and he's like, bro, that car is shaped just like the car from season 4 of this thing right here. Like, I love that. Please just keep sharing that information that I can't get from nowhere else. And I want to hear more of that in just rap music.
Alright, as you see, this thing is not going out of tune. What's up, guys? My name is Chalito Suave, and you're here because you're having Bigsby problems. Now, if you're just like me and you bought a guitar recently, this is my new guitar, and it has a Bigsby on it, and you have some intonation issues, that's the same thing that happened to me. Or if you just installed a new bridge on it, specifically a Bigsby type, these are some of the issues that you may be coming across, which is why it probably won't stay in tune. So I'm just going to give you guys some advice as to what you guys can change to help you guys keep your guitar running smoothly and no longer get frustrated with your new favorite type of tremolo system. If you really like the way it feels, trust me, it's going to be worth it. So one of the first things that you want to take a look at is the bridge. Now, I have put it in a ABM Roller Bridge. You don't have to do an ABM one. You can go with other brands, but usually when you get a Bigsby guitar, it comes with a two-pneumatic bridge. It looks just like this. The problem with these is they have a lot of friction, so a lot of the strings will get caught. And if you use the arm bar right here and try to just tank down the strings and pay attention to the towers, what you'll notice is it'll tend to pull the towers down with it. And what that usually means is the strings have too much friction to the point that they're not sliding. And when they're not sliding, what ends up happening is when you come back up, your strings are not back to pitch because now some of the strings are caught in a different space. So one of the first things you would want to address is probably the bridge. Don't use two-pneumatic bridges for anything. They're just not worth your time. Note though, when you are updating your bridge, you have to think about what company guitar you're using. So, for example, my guitar is from Indonesia. Gilded is from Indonesia. So they have a different measurement as far as bridges goes. So you'll need a converter. So as you see, this is what they call an M8. So it's a very big spiral at the bottom. This was the original towers for the bridge. The ABM rollers, however, are M4, so they're a lot smaller. So if you were to get an ABM bridge for an Indonesian, some Asian guitar that you have, you'll find that it's not a swap out for towers. You're going to have to get a converter. So I'll put a link in the description where you can get a converter. It's an M8 to M4 converter, so you can put your American bridge or European bridge on it. Just something to note because I didn't see anybody mention anything about the towers and sometimes having to convert them. So usually because you'll see people with 335. So if you have a guitar that's not Gibson, it's not American or European, and it's like Asian, like mine, you're going to have that run into that issue where the holes in your guitar are too big for your new bridge. So it's no big deal. You're just going to have to get a converter. So I'll put a link about the conversion there. Now, the beautiful thing about the bridge that I got on here too is, which I would suggest, is try to find a bridge that has Allen key locks on the side. That way when you have to change strings, it doesn't just fly off. That's what kept happening with this one, which is a pain in the butt when you're trying to change your strings. So that's a quality of life thing there that I would look for in a new bridge when you're trying to get your guitar to stay in tune. Now, this guitar itself was pretty great. I had taken him to luthier for a couple things, but there are a couple things that you can do yourself that I would suggest you do just to save some money. And if you are a guitar player and tend to want to change things on your guitars pretty often, some of these things are going to be just worth the purchase, so you can do it over and over again without having to worry about buying the tool all of a sudden. So just buy the tool the first time. And that's what I'm talking about is when it comes to the top, the headstock. So I had vintage tuners on here originally. This is what the guitar came with, some of these. Now, when it comes to having a guitar with any sort of like tremolo system, I would suggest to stay away from these. The reason for that is they tend to slip. They don't hold the strings very well. And actually, I have locking tuners. I've installed Grover locking tuners, which I'm going to show you how to do. Now, a couple things you need to note. This is a tapered ream here. This is the tool that you're going to need to do it, because the modern tuner is a lot smaller, a lot larger than the vintage tuner. So you have to make sure you get the right size reamer. So this is a small reamer. This is good for violins, and like if you're installing vintage tuners, then yeah, this will do it. But if you need a modern tuner or you're a bass player, this is the one you're going to want, because this one will do it for your basses and your modern tuners on your guitar. So make sure you get the right tapered reamer for the job. So just one thing to note, don't get the wrong size, because otherwise you're not going to be able to do the job. Now I'm going to go ahead and cut to where I'm installing it so you guys can take a look at that. Alright, so as we can see, it doesn't really fit right now. That's why we have the tapered reamer. Now it's important when you're putting these on, you're doing from the back side to the front, not from the front to the back, because the back is the side that needs to be bigger. You don't want to widen the top hole, because the top hole doesn't really need to be widened at all. So we're just going to go ahead and put this in here and figure out where it stops. And it stops pretty early, so then we're going to start spinning this. And we're just going to do a little bit at a time. As you can see, Deadpool here has been assisting me with all this. But these are all the modern size tuners. And that is the vintage tuner hole. As you can see, it is much smaller. This is the last one I have to do. And then we're going to pop them all on. And then turn this over and then just start stringing it. Getting the bridge to the right height. And very much at the end part of this. Alright guys, so we're just going to zoom in here on the headstock. This is just a capo, no big deal. But as you see, the tuners turned out great. Now, the reason we're zooming on this is because there's three things that happen here. Right, number one, the tuners, which you guys already saw. Number two, the nut. So the nut is the second most important thing to think about when you're having troubles with intonation on a Bigsby. It had a plastic nut, and that's not good. So I went ahead and got a tusk nut done. I took it to a shop for that. Obviously, you're not going to be comfortable doing every part of the job, but there's a lot of things that I think you should be comfortable doing on your own. So we're going to go ahead to a top-down view so you kind of see what the string butler does here, and how the tusk nut looks from the top down and everything. Just basically the day I got it back from the shop, and just kind of go over everything else about that. Other than that, I hope you guys enjoy the video. Alright, she's back from the shop. Here's the emerald green double cut. I can't remember if it's DC4 or DC1. I just know that one is the hardtail, more expensive one. This is the cheaper one with the Bigsby. This thing looks beautiful. Here, as you can see, I almost forgot to send him tell him to put the screws in there for me, and I did kind of last minute, and he got that done for me. He chose the black ones, and I can't be like angry about that. It looks amazing on the headstock. Here's our brand new nut, filed straight because of our string butler, which is wonderful. And I'm now just realizing that I still have a little bit of new wrap on the little screw there, so I'll take that off after I'm finished doing this video here. And then if we come all the way down here, you guys have already seen this, the ABM roller. Then we have the Vibramate right down there. We love these things right here, the Vibramate and the roller bridge. And I had them file down, or well, round out some of the frets, specifically on like around the 12th fret on the bottom side, the underside. I I felt some very sharp edges. I almost felt like I was going to cut myself if I came down here. So as you see right here, they're all smoothed out and rounded. So I can't complain about it. So I'll send a little link to the guy I took it to. His name is Brian. His shop's called Sacramento Guitar Repair Shop. So if you're in Sacramento, don't be afraid to leave your guitar with this guy. He knows what he's doing. I also realized that, I don't know if it has to do with the new nut, but playing this thing, because I play with a lot of fuzz. So what I found out is that there's just so much more overtones that I got this time. I don't know why. I figured it would be basically the same, but it's just, it's screaming with overtones now. And I don't know if it has to do with the new nut, allowing this thing to like really resonate and the strings not getting caught anywhere. But, or the roller bridge, it could be that too. Or the fact that the strings can just move freely and just vibrate the way they're supposed to. I have no idea what it is, but there's so many overtones. But once again, emerald green double cut. I can't be happier with my purchase. This thing is amazing. And then the only other thing I would like to add is the Vibramate. So the Vibramate here, this is just a quality of life thing. It has nothing to do with your Bigsby playing in tune. If you've ever had to change strings on a Bigsby, you know it's a pain in the butt because you have to hook it on the bottom side, and as you pull it up, it'll just slide off. And then you have to like pre-bend them. And if you don't want to have to deal with all that, this is called the Vibramate. I learned about this from Scott Poley. I will link his channel in the description. Like I said, if I could find the video, I'll link the video. If I can't, I'll just link his channel. He told me about it through his video that I'd seen, and let me tell you, it just makes stringing up your Bigsby so much easier. Rather than having to pre-bend your strings, you can just go straight. Just pull it through. And the only thing I would suggest is try to put something under here when you're changing the strings, because it will just come off, because it's just a piece that goes on there. And if you don't have it all the way up, you can have a little bit of air in between that and the roller. And usually what ends up happening there, like the pressure won't pull it up all the way. You want to make sure you have something there that keeps it up, so that way as you string, then it'll automatically hold it up. Because sometimes when you're stringing, you'll notice that there'll be a little air socket between the roller and the Vibramate. So just make sure that you put a little block or something to make it so that the thing stays the way it's supposed to as you string. After you put like 1 or 2 strings on, you could probably remove it. It'll stay. So, but it still makes it a lot easier than the normal way to string up a Bigsby. But there you have it. Those are my suggestions. Tuners, the nut, string butler if you have a 3x3, change your bridge, and then if you just want to make your life easier with your Bigsby, if you don't have a through Bigsby, get a Vibramate. This is going to change your life.